everyone. Welcome to College Coaching Network Ambassador Club Live. We are super excited about the information that we're going to share with you today because we're going to talk about teens and money. Teens and money. And Miss Marilyn Chappell is our special presenter that's going to talk to you guys about teens and money. So we all know that, look, money make the world go round, and trust and believe that a lot of adults still struggle with how to manage and handle the dollar. So we want to make sure that we get this information to you early so that you can set yourself up for success in life. So I'm going to turn it over to Claude and let him kind of connect with everyone, and then we're going to jump right in.
I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Enum because our relationship, Enum and I, we met at the Sprint Accelerator. Both of our companies were selected to be in an amazing program through Sprint. And we both had kindred spirits in regards to wanting to make a difference in the lives of other people. And so when she told me about Marilyn, I said, hey, I trust your judgment. She said, no, she's phenomenal, Claude. So tell us why you feel like she was the subject expert today.
So thank you, Claude. Hello, everyone. So Marilyn and I met at a networking event, and I was invited to this event by somebody else, and we had an opportunity to talk. This was last summer, and she was telling me about her organization, which is Exceeds Expectations, and the work they do with teens and money and mindset and getting them prepared. Like Mika said, money makes the world go around, but a lot of adults don't even know how to handle money. So this is definitely an important life skill to have early on. And so I've been following Marilyn and her and kind of seeing the good work she's doing with teens. And I thought she's the perfect person to come here and to talk to us about how we can start planning to be successful financially and managing our money as teens. So when you're adults, kind of have it figured out more than most adults. So that's why I thought she'd be the perfect expert today. So over to you, Marilyn, unless you have anything else to add, Claude or Mika.
No, I want to, so if you don't mind, because I love to jump into the mindset of where people are. And I can tell that you are rich in content just by your demeanor. You seem like you have a lot to offer. So I want to jump right in there, if you don't mind, and we're going to go with a deep question out the gate, and then we'll paddle back from there. All right. So why do you think we, as a culture, when I say that, you know what I mean when I say as a culture, why do you think it's so hard for us to break generational poverty?
Good question. First, I just want to say thank you for inviting me onto you guys' platform and allowing me to share what I love to share most. This is my passion. And great question. I believe that a lot of times we take on some of the behaviors and habits that we have seen when we were children. A lot of times we don't realize that our first teacher is at home. Whoever is in that home, right? And so whoever is in that home, that's how we learn as children when we were younger, right? If we had a place to sleep, if we had something to eat. So let me just be a little bit transparent. I'm all about transparency. But when I was younger, I didn't believe that my parents even struggled when it came to money because I had a place to sleep. I had food to eat. When I asked for clothes or asked for something, I got it, and so they always made sure that they provided. It wasn't until I got older and started having those conversations with my parents about when they were struggling, and we never knew. Money wasn't something that we talked about at the table. It was not even talked about even when I was in high school. And I believe that because we don't have these conversations in our culture, in our homes, a lot of times we end up learning by trial and error, and we're learning by trial and error because we're taking on some of those same behaviors and habits that we saw, even though we had clothes on our back, we had food to eat, and a place to lay our head. So I would say that's why there's generational bondages, I like to say. Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's good. That's
that's
good.
real good. So let's piggyback and unpack one thing you said. You said that well, two things. One, which thing you said you didn't even understand that we had a conversation about maybe a week or two ago about habits and how habits tie into wealth. So it's funny, like all this is just tying in together. So we'll talk offline about that because that was a great comment you just said. But then you said that some people have to learn through trial and error, right? And so I remember growing up, I heard the saying, one person said, a smart man learns from his own mistakes, but a smarter person learns from the mistakes of other people.
You know what? That
So
is so,
I knew,
so good.
yeah, no, you're
I'm
good.
sorry. Go ahead.
So I just want to ask you real quick, from the people that you grew up, not asking you to say any names, what examples did you see that shortened your learning curve to become more financially successful? And then what did you see from people that were not modeling the right behavior that caused you to learn from their mistakes?
Absolutely. Great question. So I'll start with some of the negative things that I didn't realize that was negative until I grew older and began to start making some mistakes and, tripping over some of those small decisions, right? I saw gambling. I saw drinking. I saw partying. But I also saw that people were still paying their bills. So I thought it was okay. So as I got older and I'm living on my own, even though I was able to still purchase my first home at 26, work 2 jobs to do that because that was modeled in our home, that you work for the things that you want and you sacrifice to get it, sometimes, because some things are not going to come, easy. But I also took on some of those same behaviors that I had saw while I still have my home, right? And you got bills to pay, you got that mortgage, you have utilities, you have maintenance that sometimes we don't budget in, right? And I start taking on some of those negative behaviors that I saw, and now I have problems. Now I have financial problems because now I'm coming up short when it comes to paying your bills. And so where I saw where bills were still being paid, even though, some of those negative behaviors were going on, they were mistakes for me. But later on, I found out, hey, at some point, there were some mistakes for that person as well. Mm-hmm. But we don't talk about money in the house, and so now as I was getting older, and I'm starting to pick brains because sometimes, we hate to ask questions, right? Yeah. But I would say keep at least 3 questions, 2 to 3 questions in your pocket. People love to talk about themselves. Keep about 2 to 3 questions in your pocket and ask that person that is where you want to be some questions on how they got there. How did you get to where you are today?
Yes.
What are some of the challenges you face? Because see, I don't always want to know all the good stuff. I want to know the challenges because, it's not always glorious. Yes. But we'll take those pictures as though they are when we have social media, and you could be whoever you want to be on social media, right? Right. So now you got influencers and all that good stuff, but they don't talk about the challenges. They just talk about the good things. And so these are great questions that you ask that person where you want to be, where you're trying to go. You ask them those questions, and then, from there, begin to start desiring for more. That's one thing that I always encourage the students, whether they're youth or whether they're adults, never stop dreaming. But the key to when you're dreaming is to set goals. And when you set goals, write them down, because that's the difference between a wish and a goal.
Yes. Keep going, because that you unpacking.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Keep going there. Don't stop.
Okay. And so when I share that, and I definitely share it with our youth, because we don't want them to begin to start dying. And when I'm talking about dying, I'm not saying physically, but I'm talking about mentally. And so especially with this day and age, being in a pandemic, it's crucial that we take our youth, take our teams, and lead them the way that they should go, because there's too many distractions. And so encourage them and inspire them with dreaming big and letting them know that, you know, you can achieve anything that you put your mind to. So it doesn't matter where you grew up. It doesn't matter what your current circumstance is. It doesn't matter who you're surrounded by. As long as you have a mind, that's your greatest asset.
Yes.
And money is not the goal, it's a tool.
I absolutely love that. So I have to ask, what are your top 3 tools that you can give to teens about money? Because it's like you said, they see, you know, social media didn't exist when I was in high school. Yeah. And so, you know, of course, we saw the celebrities and all of that, look, through Teen Magazine and all of that. But now it's a different level. That came out once a month. These apps are updated by the second, right?
Yes.
So what are some of the things that your top 3 things that you kind of tell teens to grasp, to understand the concept of money and how it affects their lives and how they can use it to impact life?
Yes. Great question. So the first thing I do is when we start talking about goals and I tell them that they should write it down, I actually have a template and I'll make sure I send it over to you guys too, because I always think that it's really good for not only teens, but adults too, because sometimes we just have to be reminded, right? And to stay focused. And so what I say the number one, I wouldn't say the number one, but the first template would be to use a SMART goal template. And a lot of times, like you'll hear the SMART goal template being used like in the workplace to go over performance. But I think it's always good too to use it for financial, for your finances as well. And so the SMART goal template, define your goals. That SMART, that is an acronym. So S is for being specific, to break down that goal you want to achieve. Who, what, why, when, where. And then that next letter is M, measurable. And so that's where you want to start asking yourself the questions, how much? So it can be how much, you know, will it cost? How much will it take? How often should I do this in order to get to reach my goal? How many times do I do this a week or a month or a year? And then the next letter is A for attainable. I always tell people that only you can answer that question. Nobody else can answer that question. As long as you say yes, it's attainable, it's attainable. That's all that it matters, you know, for you to believe in yourself. You got to believe in yourself first. That next letter is R for relevant. Is it relevant to your ultimate vision? Is it relevant to your ultimate vision? Very few people will say no. And if they say no, I'll challenge them and ask them why. And then I'll break it down to them and I'll tell them there is no goal too small. Every goal is a stepping stone to get you to where you want to be. And we try to figure out how we can turn that into a yes.
That's good.
Because no matter where we've been, it's gotten us to the place we are today. And we're using some of those same tools to be able to keep us on track. And then T for time-based. When? That has to have a date on it. The date is basically the stamp, because a goal without a date is just a wish. And so I have people start there first as the first tool, because that will allow you to be able to now create a realistic budget. How can you create a budget if you don't even know what you're working toward, right? And so I like, there's a quote that says, if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time.
Every time, yep.
Every time.
Yes.
And so therefore, you know, sometimes we just got to slow down, because every time when we talk about finances or financial literacy, we quickly want to start off with budgeting. No, let's talk about the mind. Let's talk about the mind. Let's talk about your goals. Now that we have your goals and you have it written down, I say now that's your blueprint. Now let's create a budget according to your goals, because your budget should be in alignment with your goals, and vice versa, because now you have something to work toward. Now when those wants come up, or not even just wants, you have a lot of distractions come up. You know, we have social media, we have ads that come on as commercials that says that we need to be going to eat at Applebee's, or we need the latest Nikes, or whatever is shown on TikTok nowadays, right?
AI is a budget killer.
Right.
AI is a budget killer.
There you go. And so, like I said, the SMART goal template is your blueprint to remind you of where you're trying to go. That means that you're not going to be able to do everything that everybody else is doing. And it also helps you to say no sometimes to some of the things that are not in alignment.
So you're right in line where I was going to ask my question. Yeah, go for it. Go for it, Aida.
I have a delay. Sorry, I have a lag in my network, and I keep like closing things and hoping it will catch up, but it's not catching up. But
I think it's going.
So you made a lot of. It's going good now. Oh, excellent. All right, you made a lot of really good points, and I was taking down a lot of notes, especially around like the mindset shift and modeling behavior, and financial literacy. Right, like you said, everybody thinks about budgeting. That's in the mind. What are, along the same line as what kind of Mika asked, what are, in terms of financial literacy specifically, right? Outside of the SMART goals, what other things have you seen that have been really helpful to teens to kind of help them with that distraction? Like, how do you reward yourself when you attain those goals, and so that you can keep kind of like working through them? Because we all know it's hard to like, not fall into that distraction trap. But how do you build in some of those incentives and motivations to kind of help yourself get focused? What has helped with your students?
Yeah, good question. So I always share with people, and this will go back to what Micah said too about and I'm gonna answer your question from there. The third one would be to set up an account. I believe every youth and teen needs to have their own checking and savings account. Let's teach them how to earn money, but also how to save money and where to keep those. And so to answer your question, what to use, nowadays, everybody's tech savvy. I'm still a paper girl. I use the digital, sometimes as well, but, download a budgeting app. You can go to Mint, and they have an app that you can use. You can go to Every Dollar. They have a free app that you can use. Definitely download an app and create your own budget. When you create that budget, whether it be a $25, that's all that I have to spend to eat out for the month, attach it to your checking account, and then it'll alert you when you get close to there. And so, I believe that definitely helps, but then I also think it helps to have accountability from your parents when you have set goals. And I'm just going to be transparent, because this is such a great question that me and my daughter just had that conversation today. She's wanted some AirPods, but she also knows that she needs to get her money up in her checking account, and that if she buy them iPods now, she's going to be broke. And so she has decided that she is going to continue to work to earn money. She actually owns a business called Designs by Bree. And so she knows that she needs to start marketing a little more so she can earn some more money before she buys them iPods. But what I love about what she's doing is, in the midst, since she knows that's what she wants, she's researching the lowest price. And so I think that's key. A lot of times we want instant gratification, and we go with the first price that we see. And I think this is key for kids too, teens. Don't go with the first price. Just because you've thought about it, that's what you want, doesn't mean you got to go out there and go get it today. Research prices, take your time. I always say plan for your purchases. A lot of times we say plan for your large purchases, but what is large? It could be different to everybody. Plan for your purchases and save for it, so then that way you don't have to pay for it later.
You said some great things, and the question, Enum, it was funny because the question that I was getting ready to ask was the exact same question. I'm not playing that you asked. I just said, when you talk, the goals, and I'm like, man, that's exactly
It's
what
the connection, I tell you.
definitely. Hey, our connection was not delayed, right? Not at all, right? So real quick, because you talked about delayed gratification, right? You don't need to get everything today. How does celebrating, like Enum is saying, that when you celebrate hitting these different targeted goals, how does celebrating these goals, but also keeping your mind and your eyes focused on the bigger goal, how does those things correlate on the mind? Because again, it's not about debits and credits and how do you balance your checkbook and all that. It's a mentality that we started out with that people have to learn how to get past before they even want to follow SMART, right? So how do you help people get to that?
That's good. That's real good. And so, yes, I believe that you should reward yourself along the way. And let me tell you how you can do that through your budget. A budget does not have to keep you from not doing anything. And see, a lot of people think that, and they be like, I'm not creating no budget because then I can't go out to eat. I can't take a trip. I can't do nothing. Everybody think there's so much sacrifice. No, budget it in. Budget it in and have a plan for your money. And so I always, when I'm doing one-on-one coaching, if nobody put no money aside for themselves, okay, let's be realistic. What are you going to do for yourself? Or I'll make them do something for themselves, right? Because if you don't do that, you're going to get discouraged along the way and you're going to stop altogether. And so that's how people start breaking those behaviors of trying to stick consistency, I should say. They break their consistency because they got along the way trying to do something that was unrealistic. And so what do they say? It takes about 21 days before you break a habit, right? It takes about 3 months before you really find a budget that works well for you. And so, pay. And I always say, tithe first, pay yourself. That means save, put some money in your savings account, and then pay your bills. Put yourself in pay your bills. Whether it's $20 a month, whether it's $20 a month, or whether it's $15 a month, do something nice for yourself. I call that self-care.
And I think, Claude, you had something, so I'll go after you.
No, go ahead, Mika.
So there was something that you said that created a trigger because you talked about making the drastic changes with setting that budget and full on restricting yourself, which makes you throw the budget away. And I think of that in connection to the mentality that we have in everything that we do.
Yeah.
Because if you just totally cold turkey yourself, whether that is setting your budget, getting fit, your study habits, going to work, like conditioning yourself to form healthy habits without adding those just drastic restrictions that makes you hate the change. So I love the fact that you said that you have to set money aside for yourself. I mean, because I definitely believe I don't work just to pay bills. If I work to pay bills, it makes life miserable.
Yeah.
So being able to add those concepts of rewarding yourself, I think is important. But my question, I said all that to say this. You mentioned about your daughter having her own business, because in the society that we live in now, multiple streams of income is important. So what are some of the things that you talk to teens regarding multiple streams of income? Because time is of the essence. So you only have so many jobs. You have to find a way to bring in those multiple streams. And even at a young age, you can do so. So what are some of the things you would equip a teen with to find those multiple streams of income?
Good question. And so this is actually something we talked about in our Youth Trailblazers, with our Youth Trailblazers. And there's actually a website, and I'll have to send that to you guys offline, or maybe even put it in the comments later. But there is like 50 ways that a teen can make money. And so, and just some of the low hanging fruit, you put a dollar amount on your passions, things that you're giving away for free, put a dollar amount on it. So I don't care if it's doing hair. I don't care if it's baking cakes. You can walk somebody's dog and you could be a pet walker, right? You can rake leaves. You can even shovel snow, different seasons. You pick those low-hanging fruits and think outside of the box. Some of your talents, if you love to draw, begin to start painting and drawing and put $1 on it. You'll be surprised. You'll never know what you can do until you actually do it. And so, I encourage people to be creative. My daughter, she came home from high school. Well, she's in 11th grade right now, but last year she had came home and she had made a travel bag from her fashions class. And I looked at her, I said, girl, you could sell those. And she's like, no, I can't, Mom. I said, you could sell those. She said, I said, try it. Try with your family first. That's all she did. And they started buying. So now she's making travel bags.
Wow.
Then the pandemic hit. Now that you know how to sew, the pandemic hit. Now she was making masks all around the United States, shipping them. And this was in the midst of a pandemic. She started her business.
Look, that's amazing. Yes.
That is, yeah.
And she does t-shirts too. So it's like you just keep encouraging that they can do. You could do it.
And I think that's that
She's
mentality.
very creative.
Yeah, that's that mentality you keep talking about. Because even going back to what you saw with your parents, you're changing the narrative with your children. So it's also having that thought process that I can.
Yes,
Is that I can mentality.
Absolutely. And and I contribute a lot of it too.
I think there you go.
No, I was just going to say that ties into the whole breaking that generational poverty and that mindset around it. How can we in our generation break the habits that were not so conducive to building wealth that we learned from our parents? How do we teach our children differently? And as teens, how do you see what your parents are doing and do it differently with the tools that you have access to? So very good point.
And I would definitely also contribute it to my parents too. And one thing I love about what they did for us, because I have 2 siblings as well, is that they took us around. They took us around the world, right? They were able to take us places. And I'm big about, allowing your kids to see more than just Kansas City, so they can dream more. And I understand that not everybody is capable. But if you ever have an opportunity to sign up for some of those programs that are allowing your children to travel, sign them up. If you don't even have the money, then see how you can raise that money and introduce them to the world, because that's when they're able to dream as well. And I thank my parents for being able to do that. That was something that we would do in the summer times. We would go on vacation. It wasn't every year. But I tell you what, the amount of times we did go on vacations in the summertime, I remember them. And it wasn't until about 4 years ago until we began to start doing that with our children. And they look forward to it. And so, you remember those things that really impacted your life and that allowed you to see differently, and you try to do you carry some of those same behaviors or habits, as well.
Oh my gosh, she got my brain I'm like, okay, don't talk about that. Don't talk about, because there's like so many different things that's just firing off. I'm like, all right, we don't got enough time to go. All right, so real quick.
We need to do this again. We don't have a lot of time for all the good questions.
Yeah, they're firing like firecrackers over here. All right, so let's go down just one path real quick. When you talked about your daughter starting her businesses, right, during the pandemic, which I think again is double kudos on that. That's phenomenal. So this here is my question. Inside of every person, like Mika said, there's multiple streams of things that they can do. They may be creative. They may be a great servant. They may create a great experience, right? They may be amazing at marketing, have an eye for proofreading things. I mean, it's just unlimited, right? The resources that lie inside these children. The teens that are out here. But my question to you is, when a person has a negative self-image of their value in the market, and they don't feel like what they're doing is worthy of charging. What advice, because the image you have on the inside of yourself will determine what you receive external on the external side of yourself, right? So
Yes.
how do you help people to, or what habits would you give to a student to do to build up their self-image and to recognize the value of who they are?
Yes, the first thing I would do is tell them to journal. Write down all those negative things that you heard. Write down all those negative things that somebody may have, told them, or even that they said of themselves. And then I would challenge you. I would challenge you to, now, for everything that you wrote down, I want you to turn it into a positive on how you can do that and why you can. And then I want you to find the affirmation that says that you can as well, for every last one of them. And sometimes that's what we need to keep before us. And I always like to say, whether it's affirmations, whether it's quotes, whether it's scriptures, whatever it is, keep it before you where you see it all the time. So if it's on your bathroom mirror, if it's on the refrigerator, because that's one place you go all the time too, right? Just in your house, period. Keep it before you that you can do it. And then find a group that you can relate to, that's in that same field that you're feeling like you're inferior, I guess you would say, in that area. Find a group to where you guys can talk about it amongst each other, because see, they can relate to you. They understand your language. Everybody won't understand your language if that's not something that they're interested in. But I believe that God gives everybody a vision. And that means everybody is not going to understand your vision, but that's okay, because he only gave it to you. And so if it takes time for you to know and believe that you can do it, take your time. But in the midst of taking your time, you surround your people around that group that you're looking to become the group where you're trying to become.
Mm-hmm.
And they help you to become, but definitely journal it along the way. And your challenges and all the positives, flip those negatives into a positive.
That's good. And so I know we're getting ready to come to a conclusion, which is crazy, but there's two things that I want to lead up, and I'm going to throw it over to Enum on this. We want to start getting our the students that are in our app, because basically we have kids that are coming from different high schools or individuals that come, and as they come into the app, and we're going live on our social media handles now, but as the kids come in, we want to move into the summertime where we start doing breakout sessions. And so Enum has a great vision of what that's going to look like that we want to make sure we get behind you on. So can you talk about your vision of what that looks like for the breakout sessions?
Absolutely. And so I believe that, that was not me. You.
No, sorry. You can go ahead, because we've talked about this. Marilyn and I have talked about.
I get so passionate, and I'm just ready to
We've talked about the breakout sessions a lot. I know, that's perfectly fine. We've talked about what this breakout session is going to look like a lot, because we're really excited about it. And it's going to be pretty much a room that you can go into after this live to speak to an expert. Right. So Marilyn and I are coming up with, she has this wonderful 6-week program, and we're talking about how we can format it into this breakout session. So if you want to learn more about financial literacy as a teen, how to budget, save money, change your mindset, all of those things, we'll have a breakout session just with Marilyn, with all the handouts, with all the tools. It's going to be, I think we talked about 4 to 6 weeks. So it's going to be a process, right? So that you can actually learn, internalize this information and use it. So we're really, really excited. Keep an eye out. We're going to have more information on how you can sign up for each of these breakout sessions coming out really soon, but it starts in the summer. So make sure you put it on your calendar. Summer breakout session, Career Coaching Network. And Marilyn will have like a fantastic program. So yes, you can add to it, Marilyn. Expand on it as much as you want.
You did awesome. You did awesome.
Yeah, so I'll throw it back over to Mika, and we're going to have financial literacy breakout sessions, teens and money. We'll have people that are from industries that'll come out. So it may be engineering, or it could be accounting, or nerdy accounting like I did, whatever it is, right? But we want to do different breakout sessions. So we're very excited about that. And as Enam said, be on the lookout. We will put materials out for that. We want to make sure that the students can start signing up early so we can have a head count. So as we pay these different presenters to come out for their time, that we know exactly about how many people are going to come out. So grateful for everybody that's listening. So thankful, Marilyn, for you to come out. I feel like we only scratched just a little bit of what you have to bring. So we are looking forward to definitely having those breakout sessions and have you coming back.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
Yes, thank you.
And we'll have more information. We'll have more information about Marilyn in our comments as well. So you can reach out to her if you have any additional questions. So thank you, Marilyn.
Yes, thank you. So I just want to run down in conclusion a couple of the tips that you gave out. So one was set up a checking and a savings account. Those things are very important. And a lot of times people don't do it in their teenage years, but you want to get a checking and savings account, because guess what? Check cashing places is a waste of your money. So get you a checking and savings account. Also, download a budgeting app so you can start setting those SMART goals and do it efficiently. These things will live on you. So if you could do it with the app, why not? Go for it. Also, have an accountability partner for your goal. I definitely am a firm believer that if you can get someone to help hold you accountable, it helps you get one step forward to attaining your goal. And then also research pricing and look for deals. I love finding a great deal. So make sure you look up those prices. Why pay more for something when you don't have to? So Ms. Marilyn, again, I want to thank you for joining us today and talking to our teens about money, because this is definitely a topic, as you said before, that a lot of families don't talk about in general conversation. And I think a part of it could be is that you just don't know what to say. So part of this conversation, hopefully something is said that'll trigger a family conversation to change that dynamic. And again, we want to thank you guys for tuning in to College Coaching Network Ambassador Club Live. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you very, very much. Thank you, Enam. Thank you, Clyde. And again, thank you, Miss Marilyn.
Thank you.